Can I have a show of hands who likes cake here? Okay, great. Now, have any of you tried chocolate cake and flan at the same time? Well, today is the day to try it out. We all have our own hobbies we enjoy doing, and one of mine happens to be baking, well, occasionally. Today I will talk about the iconic chocolate flan cake, and why you all should learn how to make one for your loved ones. After many failed attempts at making chocolate chip cookies and purchasing store-bought sugar cookies, I haven't been a baker for long, but I have finally mastered this beautiful recipe and would like to share it with you all. First, I will talk about where it originated from and some history of the bundt mold, the ingredients required, and finally, how to make the cake. Now that I have introduced you all to my topic, let's get to baking with a pit stop in history. Most of us are unaware of what a chocolate flan cake is, so let's get to know the cake and the bundt mold beforehand. It is often referred to as a magic cake by many people because of the interest of the baking process. This cake consists of 2 tiers of flavors. The top layer is flan and the bottom is chocolate. As stated in the New York Times Cooking, chocolate flan is the baking wonder. Its layers of chocolate cake batter and dulce de leche flan swapping places in the oven and coming out as a tier 2 desserts in one showstopper. Co is describing what the cake is supposed to be and how it eventually swaps during the baking process. This part of the cake still confuses me till this day. I suppose it has to do with density and gravity when in the oven. Let's talk about the origin of the cake and the culture, as it is not clear when this cake was first invented, but rather the history of 2 main flavors, which is caramel and chocolate. In the tasting table, it says, while stories of its genesis vary, there seems to be one common thread, suggesting its fusion of French cream caramel, as well as Spanish flan and Mexican chocolate cake that developed in the early to mid-19th century. So the history behind this dessert is a bit complicated, but the main ingredients help. This cake is often made for special occasions. It is truly a big staple in a Mexican culture. I recently baked this cake for my parents' anniversary. We are familiar with the bundt mold because some of us bake and some of us go to our local nothing bundt cake when we crave a sweet treat. A baking mold can come in different shapes shapes are depending on what you are looking for. The original bundt cake is used throughout many times of practice, as well as a regular brownie pan. I'm confident that at least everyone has a bundt cake mold in their household, but we aren't aware of the history behind the mold itself. The inventor David Dahlquist had some experience with aluminum casting and wanted to create something unique. He said, "The pan we know, it was designed in 1949 in Minneapolis." He was inspired by women's magazines as the forming of the aluminum cast was expensive. He still wanted to create something better than your typical baking pan. Now that we know the origin and some history, let's get into the ingredients. It is important to be aware that in order to bake this entire cake, we need the correct ingredients and measurements. Purchase a chocolate cake mix from the store. I often purchase the normal Betty Crocker chocolate cake mix, which is budget friendly. For the cake mix, you will need to follow the instructions on the box. You will most likely need oil, water, eggs, and the cake mix. For the flan, you will need 5 ingredients to complete this section. Measure the following: 1 can of evaporated milk, 1 can of sweet condensed milk, 4 ounces of cream cheese, 3 eggs, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Then you blend the flan mixture. The baking portion consists of 1 hour and 15 minutes overall, and with a 30-minute cool down. According to San Diego Tribune, unmolding a chocolate flan feels like a great feat. A bundt pan is lifted to reveal a creamy flan atop a rich chocolate cake, but the 2 layers swap places in the oven. We have now covered the ingredients, so let's get into the actual baking step. Overall, it seems that we have collected the required ingredients to continue. First, gather your ingredients. You will need about 7 items: mold, foil, baking tray, a blender, a measuring cup, and obviously an oven. So first, focus on the chocolate cake mix portion, as you need to follow the instructions on the box. Next, you focus on the flan, which is simple because you can throw all the ingredients into the blender for 30 seconds. While blending, you can begin caramelizing your sugar and buttering the mold. Lastly, pour caramelized sugar, chocolate cake mix, and flan mixture and cover with foil and place on a tray with water. The cake has to bake for an hour and 15 minutes. and an additional 30 minutes to cool down. This is the moment where the supposed magic occurs and you see the mixtures have been swapped and ready to eat when plated and decorated. I feel a sense of satisfaction and craving for baking this beautiful cake when I bake it. According to the Kaiser Permanente, they believe that baking can help reduce stress levels and encourage healthy habits. A medical doctor said, baking is an opportunity to clear out heads and de-stress. The 4 opportunities they proposed were inspiring creativity, creating happy moments, sharing the joy, and exploring new mental health resources. Now to conclude my speech, I would like to remind you all of what I talked about. Today, I talked about the creation of the choco flan cake. First, the origin history of the bundt. Second, ingredients to collect. Third, the baking process of the cake. Now that the recipe is out, that makes all of you professionals. I hope you learned today what a choco flan cake is and how delicious it can be. So next time you want to buy a cake from Costco, maybe consider this option.
Ooh.
And this is some of my cakes that I've made.